Welcome back to iTunes Live at E3 2018. It's time to take a look at a very cool looking game called Outer Wilds. Alex is the creative lead on the game. Welcome to the iTunes stage.
Thanks.
I think we're going to be playing the game live here for us. But this game is has a very interesting concept. It's an open world mystery game.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Tell us more.
It's an open world mystery where you explore a solar system that is trapped in a 20-minute time loop. And so we're going to be showing some live gameplay here, driven by our art lead, Wesley Martin.
Cool. So this is how the game begins. You wake up.
And you immediately have control. And the sort of setup is you are the newest astronaut in your village's space program, which is sort of like a backwoods version of NASA.
Okay.
And so all you have to do before lifting off into space is go to the observatory in your village and get the launch codes. And so on the way, you explore the village, you talk to characters, and you can play with little things like this model ship here, which teach you how to fly the real ship later on. So it's kind of like a playground where you just kind of get your bearings. A lot of people crash the hell out of this little model ship, and it makes them kind of nervous to get into the big ship later. And it's something we do throughout the game is introduce sort of a model of something, let you play with it, and then you encounter the big version later on. And so aesthetically, we're going for sort of, the game is backpacking in space.
Okay.
And so it's very much this kind of rustic, outdoorsy feel meets NASA.
Sure.
And your species is the Harthians. You're playing as an alien, not a human.
Okay.
And they're a race, they're very curious, but they don't have a very good sense of self-preservation. And so everything they build is kind of ramshackle, including your spaceship.
Okay. And these are all members of the same race here in this village? Okay.
Yeah, so this village is sort of your entire world, and only recently has your village built their own space program and started sending people up into space. So you're one of the very first astronauts, although not the very first. There are a few other travelers you'll meet as you go between different worlds.
Okay. So the purpose is to head off into space to do what?
So the game is all about curiosity.
Sure.
We've tried to build a world that has a lot of depth to it, a lot of interesting things going on, and there are a lot of mysteries to be solved. And so, but we want the player to be the one to sort of decide what mystery they want to solve and figure out how to do it. But the setup, there's something that happens after we get the launch codes here that kind of sets the stage for everything.
Yeah, there's a pretty big game mechanic that we haven't mentioned yet,
yes.
right?
the time thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every 20 minutes.
Every 20 minutes.
Sun goes supernova, and you have to start all over again.
Sort of.
Sort of.
So you do go back in time, and you always wake up in the same location, but you retain your memories. Your character is aware of what's happening, just like Groundhog's Day. And so the game is all about going off into space, finding clues, and then taking that knowledge. You might die, go back in time, wake up, but the clue you found before, you can now take and use to get to, like, say, a secret location, piece another part of the story together, and figure out what is really going on. Why are we in this time loop?
So, like, the launch codes are an example of something you don't have to figure out twice, right?
Exactly. Once you get the launch codes, you know the launch codes.
Yeah.
And here's Hornfels, who is the character who is in the observatory. They're going to give us the launch codes. We were just looking at the map of the solar system. The entire game does take place in one solar system, and everything is completely physics-driven, so we just sort of wind it up and then let it run for 20 minutes.
Okay.
One of the huge reasons we wanted to make a game that had a time loop is so we can do things that are sort of large-scale, irreversible processes. Like, we have a planet that literally falls apart over those 20 minutes. In the same way that, like, we wanted to constrain ourselves by only doing a single solar system, as opposed to having like a million planets or whatever, we also wanted to constrain ourselves with how long you have, because those kind of constraints mean you can really add details, things happening at different moments in time. And so here's the moment where we go back through, on our way out of the observatory, we go past a statue carved by an ancient race called the Nomai. And it comes to life, and it seems to sort of suck out our memories. And this is actually the moment where our character gets hooked into the time loop.
Okay. So you're able to actually leave this planet and go explore other worlds.
Yep. So we have the launch codes. So we're going to go on our way. Well, Hal's going to stop us and be like, make sure we saw the statue and realize that is a very strange thing that we can go investigate if we so choose.
Okay.
But we're going to go hop on our ship really shortly here.
This company, though, you work for, it's Outer Wilds Ventures, is that right?
The space program in the game is called Outer Wilds Ventures.
Yeah. And do we know, are they a benevolent endeavor? Do they have your best interests at heart, or are they?
So, well, it depends on which character we're talking about. I mean, you're part of Outer Wilds Ventures.
Sure.
It's not like a weird corporate There's no
Yeah.
menace there.
Okay.
Slate, the person who built the ship,
Okay.
they're a little. They definitely care more about the ship they built than your personal safety.
Okay.
But that's about the extent of it. You know.
Okay. So you've got this physics system governing the world. What exactly is it governing? The planets are rotating around the solar
So
system?
everything's physically moving. The day-night cycle that we see in the village here,
Yeah.
that's just the planet spinning. Like the sun just
Okay, yeah.
rises and sets. And we've tried to do a lot of things in terms of like kind of atmospheric shaders and just the visuals and the lighting and just the art direction in general to make everything feel very naturalistic. So you really get this sense of change over time.
Okay. And so I guess is 20 minutes really enough for everything to happen in, or?
So you're not going to be able to do everything in 20 minutes, although this is the sort of game where if you knew all of the secrets and you knew exactly what to do, you could reach the end of the game in a single 20-minute play session.
Okay.
But
Well, eventually you have to do that, right? I mean,
exactly, and that's the accumulation of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so here, we just lifted off, and we're just in space. All of the planets are smaller than real planets, so traveling between them is actually fairly quick, so
Yeah.
travel times aren't really an issue with the 20-minute thing. Wesley here is flying us towards the Hourglass Twins, which are actually two planets orbiting each other, Ember Twin and Ash Twin. And they change over time in the sense that sand actually flows from one planet to the other planet over the course of those 20 minutes, hence the Hourglass Twins.
Sure. And then it's actually how long is a day in your world, or a year? Is that playing out in real time, or is it?
Yes, well, it's actually, each planet has a different day-night cycle because they
Okay.
rotate at different rates. Each planet has different gravity, and each planet is home to wildly different systems. In terms of art, we're really going for sort of a national park poster aesthetic. And so the Hourglass Twins here is sort of inspired by like Mesa Verde, places
see.
in Arizona. Timber Hearth, the planet we just left, was more of Yellowstone and Sequoia. But each planet's also home to these different large-scale physical systems, which impact, they're more than just ways to tell how much time has elapsed. We can see sand actively flowing from that planet to the planet we're on. And the planet we're on is full of caves. So we need to actually hurry and explore those before they fill up with sand. And we'll see a bit later, as sand drains away from the other planet, from Ash Twin, structures will start to get revealed. We really wanted to make a world that feels like it's actively changing as you're exploring it, but in a way that is sort of beyond your control. It's nature.
Yeah.
It's not anything you can directly affect. And here we have one of the ancient Nomai ruins. The Nomai, like we said before, it's sort of an ancient race. They're long dead, but the Harthians don't know why they came to the solar system or what killed them. And a lot of the game is investigating their ruins and reading their text and trying to use the things you find. I mean, you're an archaeologist, really. And those things will give you the clues that will lead you to other places in the solar system, and eventually you can the pieces of the mystery start to fall into place.
Sure. So once you lift off with your spaceship, you can go anywhere.
You can go
in the
anywhere.
Solar system.
But there are places that are more hidden than others. So you're not going to just accidentally go to some of the really secret places. You really have to go find the clues that are going to lead you there. But players, we've seen players approach this in so many different ways.
Yeah,
Some people go here first. You can go to Giant's Deep first. You can go to the Comet. But in theory, no matter where you choose to go first, you're going to find something interesting that's going to start you on a thread that's going to kind of point you somewhere else.
Interesting. So resetting every 20 minutes, how did you land on 20 minutes? Like, did you consider 30 minutes, 15?
Oh, yeah. We've tried a few things.
Yeah.
Technically, it is 22 minutes, actually.
Oh, okay.
We say 20 minutes because it's just easier to
Yeah,
remember.
exactly.
It
It's a
used
nice
to be
round number.
18 minutes. We've fiddled because we sort of elaborated so much on the level design and the story bits that you find. We found that people were just running a little short on time, and so we increased it to 22,
Interesting.
which
So-
feels pretty good.
And then how long are you expecting it will take total playtime to sort of unravel all the secrets?
Sure.
Do you have any ballparks?
We do. I can't speak to everyone because
Sure.
it really depends
course.
on sort of your play style. The game really is, we sometimes say it's like Myst meets Kerbal Space Program.
Okay.
Sort of a
Yeah.
mystery adventure game, but in an astrophysics simulation.
Sure.
And so, but we've run some playtests fairly recently, and it is around the 20-hour mark.
Okay, interesting. Is it a roguelike game? Is
It
that
is
accurate
not.
or no?
It is not. No, it's funny. We way back when we were considering that, and it was sort
Yeah.
of a question of when we knew we wanted to reset time,
Yeah.
sort of wipe the slate clean to get away with sort of this ridiculous physics stuff we're doing, like
Yeah.
planets falling apart, sand transferring between worlds. And it was a question of, do we make that part of the story or not? And it seemed more interesting to make it part of the story. And so hence, it's the time loop is now a very central part of the narrative and one of the key mysteries that you're investigating.
So what are we seeing here? Does this planet have very low gravity? It seems like
this planet has much lower gravity.
Okay.
So yeah, actually, so once you're out of your ship, you have a few tools at your disposal. You do have to worry a little bit about oxygen, and you have limited fuel, but you have a jetpack that controls the same way your ship does. And so, and you got to be careful. You can slam into things, take damage. There are a lot of ways to die in space. Wesley is very good at flying around, but the physics in the game are fairly accurate in the sense that there's no friction in space, momentum. Yeah. We do add things like there's an autopilot, you can hold a button to match velocity. We didn't want to make it super hardcore, but we wanted to retain the feeling of real space flight. It doesn't feel like you're flying an airplane, it really feels like you're in a tin can with rockets strapped to it.
And so, along with resetting every 20 minutes, you also have to keep an eye on your health and oxygen, because you can also just die before the planet is up. Yeah.
Your ship's sort of your home away from home, and to maintain the camping metaphor, it's almost like your tent.
Yeah.
You can go back to it to refill oxygen, to refill fuel, and it also keeps track of the things you've found. Your ship has a ship log that keeps track of everything, so you don't have to take like hand notes.
Nice.
And those things actually transfer back when you die, so they go back in time with you. And it is actually the only thing that goes back in time with you. There's no physical progression. You can't upgrade your ship. It is literally all knowledge-based.
Okay. Have you considered VR for this game? Surely, at least consider
We feel like we are doing the world a service by not bringing this game to VR.
So?
There's too many things spinning. You can roll the ship. You're just literally everything in this game is moving. Like literally everything.
Yeah. Now that you mention it. So what sort of, as we travel to these other planets, will we be meeting other sorts of alien races? I know you don't want to spoil things.
Oh, yeah. So there are a few other astronauts besides yourself that have their own campsites on each planet.
Yeah.
And you can actually find them using this mechanic called the signal scope, which is a telescope that can pick up distant audio signals. They're all playing different instruments. Wesley has it pulled out here. Oh. And so if you hear like a banjo, you're like, oh, there must be a character on that planet playing a banjo. And you can go use it to find them and talk to them. And they kind of act as guides for each world. And then in addition to those, of course, we're also learning the stories of the people of the ancient race who used to live in this world. All of the text of theirs you read, you can tell which of them wrote it. And as you uncover the story, you start to learn about the different ancient characters and what they were doing here.
I see. In terms of our HUD that we have here, what information are being given to us? I see oxygen and health.
Yeah, we've got oxygen, we've got health. There's a little meter to the right of the fuel. That's our booster. It kind of gives us an extra oomph if we're on a planet with super high gravity. We are dead.
Oh, no. Gonna have to start all over.
So whenever we die, we see our playthrough actually flash back in front of our eyes. Everything that we play, we're recording you the whole time.
Okay.
And you can see here the images. This is actually the playthrough that we just did.
Wow, that's
And we play it in reverse. And this is our memories going back in time to our past self.
Okay.
And now we're going to wake up where we started. And the difference now is that we remember the launch codes. And you can see there's a sort of a flash of light there. There's a space station in orbit around Giants Deep. And you can see it there's like a little blue thing that goes off into space. And that's the thing you see at the start of every single loop. And that's another one of the mysteries is sort of why does that happen every time you wake up?
Sure.
And if you want to investigate it, if you're curious, you just go there.
And no combat, right? Like
there's no combat. There's a lot of ways to die.
Yeah.
This is a game that is very violent against the player.
Okay.
But
like space would be.
Like space would be, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It is a very much about it's a mystery game and it's finding clues and it's finding story, but it's doing that while also trying to deal with sort of all of the stuff that wants to kill you.
Yeah.
And it's all natural. It's nature doesn't really care if you're there or not, right? It's not antagonistic. It's just what nature does.
Yeah, exactly. And can you give us an idea of like how many planets are we talking about? Like 20?
Yes.
Like
I can give you
some sort of ballpark figure.
There are 6 planets, 3 moons, 3 space stations, and a comet.
All right, you knew.
And the sun.
Yeah, and the sun.
But there's like only one way that ends, right?
Yeah. Can you go towards the sun and get close enough to actually burn yourself up?
Oh yeah, you can fly right into the sun. In fact, the autopilot's not the smartest. If you try to autopilot to something on the other side of the sun, you'll just go right into it. So.
Very cool. Well, Outer Wilds is coming out this year?
It's coming out in 2018.
All right. We're waiting for that release date, and that's going to be on Xbox One and PC?
PC, yep.
Cool. Very much. Thank you for coming by the IGN stage.
Thanks so much.
Stay tuned. Still more to come here from E3 2018 after this.